My name is Rachel, and on my 36th birthday, everything shifted. I had spent weeks preparing for the perfect celebration at Seattle's finest restaurant, looking forward to wearing a beautiful designer outfit. When my nephew Marcus deliberately threw his fruit punch across the table, the dark liquid spreading across my ivory silk, like ink, time seemed to freeze. "Now you look as ordinary as you really are," he sneered. 19 and full of contempt. My father nodded approvingly. I just smiled, but inside something finally fractured. If you are watching this, please drop a like and subscribe, and let me know where you are from in the comments. You will not believe what happened next. I have always been the dependable one in my family. While my brother Derek bounced between opportunities and living situations in our hometown, I moved to Seattle and built a career in consulting. Through dedication and countless late nights, I climbed from entry-level analyst to senior director at one of the largest firms in the Northwest. My apartment overlooking Puget Sound was a testament to those sacrifices, as was my carefully selected wardrobe and the luxury vehicle I had purchased after my last promotion. Derek, 2 years older than me, had taken a different path. He had Marcus at 22, left college, and cycled through various ventures and entry-level positions. I never criticized his choices, but I did become the family safety net. "Rachel, the landlord is demanding payment. Could you help just this one time?" Became a monthly call. My vehicle broke down again. "Marcus needs to get to his basketball game. Can you transfer some money?" The emergency credit card I provided for Derek 3 years ago was meant for genuine crises. Instead, it became his supplement for luxury items, weekend trips, and restaurant meals he could never afford. Every month I paid the bill without complaint. Family supports family, right? When Marcus turned 17 and needed a vehicle for school, I bought him one. Not just any vehicle, but a safe, reliable SUV that I registered in my name for insurance purposes. "You can use it until you finish school," I told him, watching his expression darken at the word use rather than own. My father, Robert, reinforced this dynamic my entire life. From childhood recitals, where my flawless performance received a distracted "well done," while Derek's uneven attempt earned enthusiastic praise for his effort, the pattern was established early. When I received academic honors, Dad said I was fortunate. When I landed my first consulting position, he wondered aloud if I really had capacity for such demanding work. The pattern continued into adulthood. My promotions were met with, "I hope you are not overextending yourself, sweetheart." My professional achievements were minimized with, "Success is not everything, Rachel." Meanwhile, Derek was doing his best and had such determination despite his repeated setbacks. Last month, I received another promotion to Senior Vice President of Strategy. The compensation increase was substantial. When I called to share the news, my father said, "That is wonderful, dear. Did I tell you Derek is considering some certification programs? He is so motivated." That night, Derek called to congratulate me. "Must be nice," he said. "Some of us have actual obligations, not just corner offices." I could hear Marcus in the background making dismissive sounds. Despite everything, I cared for them. They were my family, and I believed that one day they would recognize me, truly recognize me, and be supportive. That belief sustained me through forgotten occasions, indirect criticism, and financial exploitation. When my birthday approached, I decided this year would be different. I would host a celebration at one of Seattle's most prestigious restaurants. I would wear something exceptional. I would invite my closest friends and my family. Perhaps surrounded by the life I had built, they would finally understand my journey. Looking back, I realized how desperately I was still seeking their validation. Achievement, I thought, would finally make them appreciate me the way I had always appreciated them. I did not understand then that some people are determined to misunderstand you, especially when your accomplishments highlight their shortcomings. Planning my birthday celebration became a project I threw myself into with characteristic precision. Meridian required reservations 3 months in advance, and I set a calendar reminder to call the moment their booking system opened. When I secured the private dining room for 8 people on my exact birthday, it felt like confirmation that this celebration would finally be different. The outfit was next. I wanted something special, something that represented who I had become. I spent 4 weekends visiting boutiques before finding it, an ivory-colored silk dress that fell just below my knees with subtle pearl detailing along the neckline. At $2,800, it cost more than I had ever spent on a single item of clothing, but when I tried it on, I knew it was perfect. The saleswoman smiled as I examined myself in the mirror. "Special occasion?" she asked, carefully folding the dress into tissue paper. "My birthday," I replied. "I'm having dinner at Meridian." "How lovely. Your partner must be very pleased." I shook my head. "No partner, just me celebrating me." She nodded approvingly. "Even better." Invitations went out 6 weeks before the date. My closest friends responded immediately. Lauren from college, now a physician, Jasmine from work, Daniel and his partner Ryan, who lived in my building, all replied with enthusiastic confirmations and offers to assist with planning. Inviting my family was more complicated. I called my father first. "A Thursday evening," he said, sounding inconvenienced. "That is a substantial drive into the city on a weeknight, Rachel." "I know, Dad. I can arrange transportation for you if that helps. We will see. I will have to check with Derek. Marcus might have basketball practice." I swallowed my disappointment. "It is at Meridian. The reservation was difficult to secure. I would really appreciate it if you could come." "We will try," he said. A promise I knew meant little. Derek's response was equally tepid. "Meridian is that place, extremely expensive." "It is my treat," I assured him. "For everyone. Marcus will need something appropriate to wear. He cannot just show up in casual clothes to a formal place like that." I closed my eyes, counted to 5. "I can send you some funds for a new outfit for him if that helps." "That would be the least you could do," Derek said, as if I was imposing by inviting them to a $900 dinner, and we might be a little late. "Marcus has basketball until 6. The morning of my birthday, I woke up early. I had scheduled a full day of preparation: massage, facial, hair, and makeup. As I sipped my morning coffee, I allowed myself to hope. Tonight would be different. Tonight, surrounded by the evidence of my success, my family would see me clearly for the first time. They would be supportive. They would understand the hard work behind the fortune they had always attributed to me. By 6 o'clock, I was ready. The outfit fit perfectly. My hair fell in soft waves, and my makeup enhanced without overwhelming. I looked exactly as I had hoped: accomplished, confident, worthy of celebration. The restaurant staff greeted me by name when I arrived. "Happy birthday, Miss Chen. Your private room is ready, and we have the champagne chilling as requested." My friends arrived promptly at 6:30, bearing beautifully wrapped gifts and genuine smiles. Lauren hugged me tightly, whispering, "You look absolutely stunning." By 7:15, we were seated at the table with no sign of my family. I checked my phone repeatedly as the first course arrived. "Should we wait?" Jasmine asked gently. I shook my head. "No, let us start. They will join when they get here." At 7:45, just as the second course was being served, my family finally arrived. My father entered first, wearing the same outfit he wore to every formal occasion. Derek followed, looking irritated. Marcus trailed behind them, already on his phone, wearing athletic wear that was wildly inappropriate for the venue. "Sorry we are late," my father said, not sounding sorry at all. Traffic was terrible. The staff smoothly reset their places and brought their first courses while we continued with our meal. The initial conversation was awkward. My friends tried to include my family, asking polite questions about their lives but received minimal responses. "So Marcus, Rachel tells us you are quite the athlete," Daniel said kindly. Marcus shrugged without looking up from his phone. "I guess he is extremely talented," my father interjected. "His coach says he could go collegiate." Derek nodded proudly. "He just needs better training. The facility in our town is so basic." I recognized the opening. "If Marcus is serious about basketball, I could help look into summer programs in Seattle. They have excellent opportunities." "We cannot all afford to live in luxury apartments," Derek snapped. "Some of us have to make do with what we have." The table fell silent. Ryan caught my eye and raised an eyebrow slightly. I gave a small shake of my head. "Not now." As the evening progressed, the contrast between my friends and family became increasingly apparent. My friends asked thoughtful questions, shared stories that highlighted my better qualities, and generally created an atmosphere of celebration. My family sat rigidly, contributing little except the occasional critical remark. When it came time for toasts, Lauren raised her glass first. "To Rachel, who has been my rock for 15 years. Your kindness is matched only by your determination. I am so proud to call you my friend." Others followed with similar sentiments. When it came to my family's turn, my father simply said, "Happy birthday, sweetheart." 36 already. Time passes, Derek lifted his glass reluctantly to my little sister, always reaching for the stars while the rest of us stay grounded. Marcus did not bother to toast at all, too busy texting under the table. The gift opening segment was equally painful. Lauren and Jasmine had gone in together on a beautiful leather portfolio embossed with my initials. Daniel and Ryan gave me a weekend spa package at a resort in Oregon. Each gift was thoughtful, personal, and accompanied by a heartfelt card. When I opened Derek's gift, I tried to keep my expression neutral. It was a scented candle from a discount store, still in the clearance bag with the $8 price tag attached. The card, clearly grabbed from a convenience store display, simply read, "Happy birthday, sis," with their names written at the bottom. "Thank you," I said, placing it carefully with the other gifts. "This is lovely. We cannot all afford fancy presents," Derek said defensively. "Some of us have real expenses." The dessert course arrived. An elaborate construction of chocolate and edible flowers with "Happy Birthday, Rachel" written in gold leaf across the plate. As the waiter described the components, I noticed Marcus's expression darken. He had been sullen all evening, but now there was something else in his eyes, something calculating. The dessert presentation was a work of art, complete with a sparkler that drew attention from nearby tables. As everyone admired it, I felt a momentary flash of pride. This was my life, the one I had built from nothing. For just a second, I allowed myself to enjoy it without apology. That was when I noticed Marcus whispering to Derek, who smirked and whispered something back. My father leaned in to join their private conversation, all three glancing at me with expressions that made my stomach tighten. "Everything okay?" I asked lightly. "Just fine," my father replied. Marcus was saying how elaborate everything is. I turned to my nephew, offering an olive branch. "I am glad you could come, Marcus. I know weeknight events are challenging with your schedule." Marcus looked directly at me for the first time that evening. "Yeah, whatever. Must be nice to waste money like this when there are people struggling." "Marcus," Derek said in a tone that contained no actual reprimand, "be respectful. It is your aunt's birthday." My friends exchanged uncomfortable glances. Daniel cleared his throat. "So Rachel was telling us you might be looking at colleges soon, Marcus. Any thoughts on what you might want to study?" Marcus rolled his eyes. "Not everyone gets to go to college. Some of us have to work for a living." "Actually," I interjected carefully, "I have been setting aside some funds for your education. There are some excellent athletic programs that offer scholarships, too." The table fell silent. This was news to everyone, including Derek, who looked suddenly confused. "What do you mean you have been setting aside funds?" he asked. "An education fund?" I explained. "I started it when Marcus was born. It is not substantial, but it should cover community college at minimum, possibly more with scholarships." My father frowned. "You never mentioned this before." I wanted it to be a surprise when the time was right, and now that Marcus is starting to think about his future, it seemed like an appropriate moment to bring it up. Instead of gratitude, I watched as three faces hardened simultaneously. My father pursed his lips. Derek's eyes narrowed, and Marcus, looking angrier than ever, gripped his water glass so tightly his knuckles whitened. "So, you have just been sitting on funds all this time while we struggled?" Derek's voice had the dangerous edge I recognized from childhood arguments while I worked multiple shifts, while Dad had to refinance his house to help me with rent. That is not what I said. I began feeling the evening slipping away from me. I specifically set it aside for Marcus's education. It is in a trust. "Always the rescuer," Derek sneered. "Always making the rest of us look inadequate." My friends were now openly uncomfortable. Lauren placed a hand on my arm supportively, but said nothing. What could she say? This was family tension being aired in the worst possible setting. "Let us just enjoy dessert," I suggested, attempting to salvage the celebration. "We can discuss the education fund another time." "No, let us discuss it now," Marcus suddenly spoke up. "I do not need your charity. I do not need anything from you." "Marcus, young man," my father tried to intervene. "Your aunt is just trying to help." "She's trying to control everything like she always does," Marcus shot back, "walking around like she is superior to everyone because she has wealth, acting like we should be grateful that she throws us her leftovers." The restaurant seemed to go quiet around us, though I knew it was just my focus narrowing to this horrible moment. The beautiful evening I had planned for months was disintegrating before my eyes. "That is not true," I said quietly. "I care for you. I want to help because you are my nephew, and I care about your future." Marcus stood up abruptly, grabbing his nearly full glass of fruit punch, a beverage the restaurant had prepared especially for him. "You want to know what I think of your help?" he said, voice rising. "You want to know what I think of your fancy outfit and your fancy restaurant and your fancy life?" Before anyone could react, he tossed the contents of his glass directly at me. The cold liquid hit my chest and face immediately, soaking into the ivory silk of my $2,800 outfit. Dark rivulets ran down the fabric, staining it irreparably. In the shocked silence that followed, Marcus delivered the final blow. "Now you look as ordinary as you really are." My friends gasped. Daniel half rose from his chair, but I put my hand up to stop him. The restaurant had definitely gone quiet now, every table aware of the drama unfolding in our corner. I expected my father to reprimand Marcus, to apologize profusely, to do something to acknowledge the cruelty of what had just happened. Instead, he patted Marcus's hand. "I think we should go," he said, standing up. "Rachel, this was all a bit excessive. You know how young adults can be when they feel uncomfortable." Derek was already grabbing his belongings. "We told you this place was too elaborate. You should have done something simple if you wanted us to come." I sat frozen, dark liquid dripping from my ruined outfit onto the white tablecloth. I could feel eyes on me from every direction. The staff hovered uncertainly nearby, unsure how to proceed. "It's fine," I heard myself say, my voice steady despite everything. "Thank you for coming." As they walked out, leaving me humiliated in front of my friends and a restaurant full of strangers, I maintained my composure. I dabbed at my outfit with a napkin, knowing it was futile. I smiled at my concerned friends. "Well," I said, "I guess the evening is ending early." Lauren immediately moved to the chair beside me, putting her arm around my shoulders. "Rachel, I am so sorry. That was unacceptable. Jasmine was already talking to the waiter, arranging for our bill to be settled and our remaining desserts to be packed up." Daniel and Ryan flanked me protectively as we made our way out of the restaurant, my ruined outfit drawing sympathetic glances from other diners. In the privacy of my apartment, surrounded only by my true friends, I finally allowed myself to cry. The outfit was destroyed. The evening was ruined. But more importantly, the fantasy I had clung to for years, that my family might someday recognize and appreciate me, had been shattered beyond repair. As my friends offered comfort and outrage on my behalf, something hardened inside me. Years of financial support, emotional labor, and desperate attempts to win acceptance had led to this moment of public humiliation. Something had to change. After my friends left, I sat alone in my living room, still wearing the stained outfit. I picked up my phone and scrolled through my banking app, looking at years of transactions, tens of thousands of dollars flowing from my accounts to support my brother and nephew. The credit card statements showed shopping at premium stores, entertainment expenses, and restaurants far nicer than Derek could afford on his own. Then I opened my social media and felt my blood go cold. Marcus had already posted about the incident. A blurry photo of me in the stained outfit captioned, "When wealthy auntie needs to be humbled. Sorry, not sorry. Ordinary as she really looks." The post had dozens of reactions already, including one from my brother. In that moment, something broke free inside me. The need for validation, the desperate desire for family acceptance, the willingness to be used again and again, all of it fell away. In its place was a clarity I had never experienced before. I picked up my phone again and made 2 calls. The first was to my credit card company. The second was to my attorney. Alone in my apartment, I finally peeled off the ruined outfit. $2,800 of silk and pearl detailing destroyed in seconds by deliberate cruelty. I hung it in my bathroom, a dark-stained reminder of this turning point. The shower water ran hot as I scrubbed fruit punch from my skin and hair. My mind raced through years of similar moments. Derek accidentally spilling wine on my graduation outfit, Marcus forgetting to tell me about family gatherings, my father dismissing every achievement with faint praise, followed by a change of subject to Derek's latest challenge. Why had I accepted this treatment for so long? The question echoed as I wrapped myself in a robe and sat on the edge of my bed, staring at nothing. My phone buzzed with text messages from friends checking in. Lauren, are you okay? Want me to come back over? Daniel, that was inexcusable. We are here for you, Jasmine. Just say the word, and I will help you establish boundaries with those toxic people. I appreciated their concern, but needed solitude to process what had happened and what I needed to do next. For the first time, I was not afraid of my family's disapproval. Their power over me had been broken by one punch-soaked evening of clarity. The morning after my birthday, events unfolded with methodical precision. I woke early after a surprisingly restful sleep, made coffee, and reviewed my action plan. The clarity I felt was almost euphoric, like breaking the surface after years underwater. My first call was to the credit card company at exactly 8 a.m. when their customer service opened. Good morning. This is Rachel Chen. I need to remove an authorized user from my account immediately. The representative was professional but curious. May I ask the reason for the removal? The authorized user has misused the card for non-emergency personal expenses against our agreement. I understand, Miss Chen. I can take care of that right away. You should know that any pending charges will still be processed. But no new charges can be made after we deactivate the card. That is fine. And I would like a new card issued to me with a different number. Of course, we will expedite that to you. Is there anything else I can help with today? No, thank you. That takes care of everything. The entire call took less than 10 minutes. After years of paying Derek's excessive charges without complaint, it felt surreal how easily I could end the financial drain. One phone call and a major avenue of exploitation was closed. My second call was to my friend Thomas, who happened to be an attorney specializing in property law. Rachel, I heard about last night from Lauren. Are you okay? I am getting there, I replied. I need some quick legal advice about a vehicle. I explained the situation. The vehicle purchased in my name, used exclusively by Marcus, with me paying all associated costs. You are on solid legal ground, he assured me. The vehicle is registered to you. You pay the insurance, and there is no documented gift transfer. You can reclaim it at any time. Even if I previously told him he could use it through school. Verbal agreements like that are difficult to enforce, especially with a minor. Use is not the same as ownership. You have every right to take back your property. Relief washed over me. Thank you, Thomas. I will be careful to document everything. My third call was to a reputable towing company. I explained that I needed my vehicle retrieved from the high school parking lot. I will need to provide proof of ownership, I said, already preparing to email copies of the registration and insurance. Yes, ma'am. We will need that documentation before we can proceed. I sent the files immediately, then scheduled the pickup for 7:30 a.m., knowing Marcus would be in early morning basketball practice. Please be discreet, I requested. There may be some confusion about the ownership. We understand. Our drivers are trained to handle delicate situations. Next, I called my financial advisor. We had a standing quarterly meeting, but this could not wait. Janet, I need to review my financial commitments. I am making some significant changes to my family support arrangements. Janet had long questioned my level of financial support to my brother, though she had always been professionally tactful about it. I have time this afternoon if you would like to come in, she offered. Perfect. I will see you at 1. The final preparation was emotional. I sat down with my journal and wrote out exactly what I wanted to say to my family. No accusations, no blame, just facts. The total amount spent, the ungrateful responses, the public humiliation, the clear path forward. By 9:30 a.m., the first crisis call came through, Derek's voice sharp with panic. Rachel, my card was declined at the gas station. There must be some mistake. I took a deep breath. There is no mistake, Derek. I have removed you as an authorized user from my credit account. A stunned silence. Then you did what? I closed your access to my credit card permanently because of last night. Are you serious right now? It was just a dinner. It was my birthday celebration, and your son deliberately humiliated me, destroyed a $2,800 outfit, and then posted mocking content online. You reacted positively to those posts, but this is not just about last night. This is about years of financial dependence that has created an unhealthy dynamic between us. So you are just cutting me off just like that. How am I supposed to pay for anything? The same way other adults do, with your own funds from your own employment. His tone shifted from outrage to pleading. Rachel, please. I have bills due next week. Marcus needs new basketball shoes. Dad needs his medication refilled. The familiar guilt tugged at me, but I held firm. I am sorry you are in this position, but it is not my responsibility to manage your finances anymore. You selfish, he hissed, reverting to anger when manipulation failed. After everything I have done for you. What exactly have you done for me, Derek? Please enlighten me. When he had no answer, I continued. I am available to talk in person at my apartment at 3 this afternoon. We should discuss this face to face. I hung up as he was still sputtering threats and insults. The next call came at 7:55 a.m., right on schedule, Marcus's voice trembling with panic and fury. My vehicle is gone. Someone stole it from the school lot. It is not your vehicle, Marcus, I corrected calmly. It is my vehicle. I bought it. I pay for the insurance and the registration is in my name. I have arranged to have it returned to me. His shock was audible. You cannot do that. I need that vehicle. You needed transportation, which I provided. You have now lost that privilege because of your behavior. Are you serious? It was just a joke. Deliberately humiliating someone is not a joke. Posting content mocking me online is not a joke. Those are cruel actions with real consequences. His voice cracked as he shifted tactics. Please, Aunt Rachel, I am sorry. I will delete the posts. I need the vehicle for school and basketball. Please do not do this. I have made my decision. We can discuss this further when you come with your father to my apartment at 3 today. My father called next, his voice that particular mixture of disappointment and manipulation he had perfected over decades. Rachel, what is this I hear about you taking Marcus's vehicle and canceling your brother's credit card over a spilled drink? That is a rather significant understatement of what happened, Dad. And yes, I have reclaimed my vehicle and closed the credit account I was allowing Derek to use. This family supports each other, he said, as if reciting scripture. We do not punish each other over small incidents. I agree that families should support each other, but support should be reciprocal and appreciated, not demanded and mocked. Marcus is just a young adult. He made a mistake. He is 19, Dad. Old enough to understand cruelty. Old enough to face consequences. He sighed heavily. What do you want? An apology? Fine. I am sure they will apologize if that is what it takes. What it takes for what? To get the funds flowing again. That is exactly the problem. Any apology given under those circumstances would be meaningless. So you are just cutting them off? Your own family? I am establishing boundaries that should have been set long ago. We can discuss this further when you all come to my apartment at 3. My meeting with Janet, my financial advisor, was revelatory. She created a spreadsheet showing my financial support of my family over the past 5 years. The total comes to just over $142,000, she said, turning the screen toward me, not including the vehicle. Seeing the number in black and white was shocking. And if I had invested that money instead, she ran the calculation. At a moderate growth rate, you would have an additional $108,000 in your portfolio today. And moving forward, if I stop all financial support, you could move your retirement timeline up by at least 3 years or purchase that vacation property you have been considering, or both. The possibilities expanded before me. Freedom from financial obligation meant freedom to live my own life fully. By the time I returned to my apartment, the towing company had delivered my vehicle to the building's garage. The attendant handed me the keys with a sympathetic smile. Young man at the school was pretty upset, he commented. Kept saying it was his vehicle. Family misunderstanding, I said simply. Thank you for handling it professionally. I spent the next hour preparing my apartment for the confrontation to come. I set out the financial documents on the dining table. I printed screenshots of Marcus's social media posts. I made coffee and set out water, but no snacks or other comforts. This was not a social visit. At precisely 2:55 p.m., my building's security called. Miss Chen, there are 3 people here to see you. Derek, Marcus, and Robert Chen. Please send them up, I replied, straightening my shoulders. The knock came moments later. 3 sharp raps that somehow conveyed fury. I opened the door to find exactly what I expected. Derek, red-faced with anger. Marcus, puffy-eyed from crying but still defiant. And my father, wearing his martyred expression. Come in, I said calmly. We have a lot to discuss. They entered my apartment like invaders. Derek storming in first with barely contained rage, Marcus sulking behind him, and my father bringing up the rear with an expression of sorrowful disappointment that had intimidated me since childhood. Sit down, I said, gesturing to the dining table where I had arranged the documents. I am not sitting anywhere until you explain yourself, Derek snapped. How dare you strand my son at school? How dare you cancel my credit card without warning? I remained calm. The vehicle is registered in my name. I pay the insurance. It is legally mine. You gave it to Marcus. I allowed him to use it. There is a significant difference. My father stepped forward, adopting his mediator role. Rachel, dear, I understand you are upset about what happened at your birthday dinner, but this response is extremely disproportionate. Is it? I asked, pulling out a chair for myself and sitting down. Please, all of you sit. I want to show you something. Reluctantly, they took seats around the table. Marcus immediately slumped in his chair, arms crossed defensively over his chest. These are my bank records for the past 5 years, I began, sliding a folder toward them. They show every transfer made to Derek's account. The total is $68,425. Derek's eyes widened slightly, but he said nothing. These are the credit card statements for the account I allowed you to use for emergencies, I continued, pushing another folder forward. The total charges come to $51,190. Items purchased include designer clothing, restaurant meals, concert tickets, and entertainment expenses. Not what most people would consider emergencies. My father cleared his throat uncomfortably. Family supports family. Rachel, you have been blessed with professional success. I have worked extremely hard for my professional success, I corrected him. 60 to 70-hour weeks for years, sacrificed relationships and personal time, earned every promotion through excellence. I turned to the next document. This is the purchase agreement for the vehicle Marcus has been using. $28,500 plus insurance and maintenance costs of approximately $3,800 annually, all paid by me. Marcus had the grace to look slightly ashamed, though he still would not meet my eyes. The total financial support I have provided over the past 5 years comes to $142,000, I concluded. Funds freely given out of care and concern for your well-being. The room was silent as they absorbed this information. Derek looked stunned, as if seeing the total amount for the first time made him realize the extent of his dependence. And this, I said, placing my tablet on the table, is how my generosity has been repaid. I opened the screen to Marcus's social media page, showing the posts from the previous night, the photo of me with the stained outfit, the content secretly recorded during the dinner, the mocking captions and harsh comments. Marcus, would you care to explain why you thought it appropriate to humiliate me publicly, and then share that humiliation with hundreds of people online? He squirmed in his seat. It was just a joke. Everyone posts stuff like that. A joke is something everyone laughs at. Did you see me laughing when you threw your drink on me? Did you think I would find it amusing to have a $2,800 outfit ruined? You can afford another one, he muttered. That is not the point. The point is respect. Basic human decency, neither of which you demonstrated last night. I turned to Derek. And you reacted positively to these posts. You commented with approval. You encouraged this behavior. I did not think it was that serious, he defended weakly. And you, I said finally to my father. When Marcus threw his drink on me, you took his side. You comforted him as if he was the victim. My father looked genuinely confused. He was upset. He was upset because he had just deliberately humiliated me in public, and your first instinct was to comfort him, not to address his appalling behavior. I stood up and walked to the window, gathering my thoughts before turning back to face them. For years, I have supported you financially and emotionally. I have never asked for anything in return except basic appreciation and respect. Last night made it crystal clear that I cannot even expect that much from you. Derek seemed to finally grasp the severity of the situation. So you are just cutting us off completely? I am establishing boundaries that should have been in place long ago. The credit card is canceled. The financial support is over. The vehicle is mine again. How am I supposed to get to basketball? Marcus burst out. How am I supposed to get to school? The same way thousands of other young adults do. Walk, take public transportation, ask your friends for rides. This is not fair. Neither is being mocked and humiliated by someone I have generously supported for years. My father tried a different approach. Rachel, I understand you feel hurt. But this feels like punishment, and family should not punish each other. This is not punishment. These are natural consequences. When you mistreat someone who has been supporting you, that support may end. The reality of their situation was beginning to sink in. Derek looked pale. The rent is due next week. I cannot make it without your help. I am sure you will figure something out. Perhaps a second job or a roommate. And Marcus's basketball fees. His education fund. The education fund still exists. It is in a trust that he can access when he enrolls in higher education. As for basketball fees, that is something you will need to budget for yourself. Now, Marcus's eyes widened. So you are not taking away the college funds that were always for your education, and it will remain for that purpose. But everything else, all the extra support, is over. A heavy silence fell over the room. My family exchanged glances, seemingly at a loss for how to proceed. The dynamic had shifted so dramatically that their usual tactics, the guilt and manipulation, the anger and tears, were not working. I cannot believe you would do this to your own family, my father finally said, falling back on emotional manipulation. After everything we have been through together. What exactly have we been through together, Dad? When have any of you supported me through a difficult time? When have you celebrated my successes without jealousy or resentment? When have you shown me 1/10 of the consideration I have shown you? He had no answer. Derek, always quicker to adapt, changed tactics. Okay, we messed up. We are sorry. What do we need to do to fix this? This is not something you can fix with a hasty apology. This is about fundamentally broken patterns in our relationship. Patterns that have persisted for decades and will take significant time and effort to repair, if they can be repaired at all. So, that is it. You are just done with us? Marcus's voice cracked, genuine fear breaking through his teenage bravado. I softened slightly. I am not done with you. I am done enabling destructive behavior. I am done being an ATM. I am done accepting disrespect and cruelty as my due. I walked back to the table and gathered the documents into a neat stack. I would like each of you to take some time to reflect on our relationship, on what you have contributed versus what you have taken, on how you have treated me, and whether that treatment reflects the care you claim to feel. For the first time, I saw uncertainty in my father's eyes, perhaps even the beginning of genuine remorse. What happens now? He asked quietly. Now you go home and figure out how to live within your actual means. You create a budget that does not include my financial support. You consider whether having me in your lives is important enough to treat me with basic respect and decency. I walked to the door and opened it, a clear signal that the conversation was over. I care for you all, I said, surprising myself with the truth of it despite everything. But I will no longer accept being valued conditionally or treated disrespectfully. They filed out silently, the gravity of the situation finally sinking in. As my father passed last in line, he paused. I never meant to hurt you, he said softly. I know, but you did repeatedly. And now we all have to live with the consequences of that. The door closed behind them, and I was alone in the quiet of my apartment. For the first time in my adult life, I felt truly free. The weight of obligation, of unrequited familial acceptance, had lifted. Whatever came next, I would face it on my own terms. 6 months passed. Each day a small step toward a new normal. Spring gave way to summer, and summer faded into fall. My life transformed in ways both subtle and profound. The first month after our confrontation was the hardest. My phone buzzed constantly with messages alternating between anger, pleading, and guilt manipulation. I responded factually and calmly to direct questions, but refused to engage with emotional manipulation. Eventually the barrage slowed, then stopped entirely for 2 weeks. The silence was both painful and peaceful. Then came a text from Marcus that changed everything. I got a job at the sporting goods store. Saving for a vehicle, not asking for funds. Just wanted you to know. That simple message, free from demands or accusations, was the first tender shoot of something new, growing from the scorched earth of our relationship. I replied simply, I am proud of you. That is not easy. Derek's transformation took longer. According to my father, he cycled through rage, depression, and finally reluctant acceptance. 3 months after our confrontation, he found a better-paying position as an operations manager and moved to a smaller apartment he could actually afford. When he finally reached out, his message was unexpected. Thank you for forcing me to stand on my own. I resent that it took this, but I needed the push. My father was the most complex case. Decades of enabling Derek and dismissing me could not be undone quickly. We began with brief, carefully neutral phone calls once a week. He struggled to break old patterns, occasionally slipping into comments about how Derek and Marcus were struggling without my support. But I gently redirected these conversations every time. I'm glad to hear about Derek's new position. I would say that must be a relief for everyone. Slowly, my father began to see me clearly, perhaps for the first time. He asked questions about my work, my friends, my life, with genuine interest rather than cursory politeness. During one call, he surprised me with an observation. "You sound different, Rachel. Happier." "I am," I replied. "Establishing boundaries has been beneficial for me." "I can see that now," he said thoughtfully. "I wish I had been better at recognizing you before." It was not quite an apology, but it was a start. By the 6-month mark, we had progressed to monthly family dinners, not at expensive restaurants, but at my father's house. Simple meals where we were relearning how to be together without the distortions of financial dependence. Marcus, now working part-time and focused on college applications, had matured remarkably. During one dinner, he asked if he could speak with me privately after the meal. We walked in my father's garden as evening fell. "I need to apologize properly," he said, looking me in the eye. "What I did at your birthday was cruel and thoughtless. I was jealous of your life, your success. It seemed so easy for you and so challenging for Dad and me." "It was never easy," I told him. "I worked incredibly hard for everything I have. The difference was that I took responsibility for my choices." He nodded. "I understand that now. Working for minimum wage has been educational." I laughed at his dry tone. "I imagine it has. The thing is," he continued, "I actually like earning my own funds. It feels satisfying to buy something and know it is really mine, not a handout." "That is how independence works," I agreed. "It is harder, but more fulfilling." "About college," he said hesitantly. "Is that trust fund really still there?" "It is. Education was always the plan for those funds, and it still is." His relief was palpable. "Thank you. I am applying to state schools with athletic programs, more practical than my old plans." "That sounds like a wise decision." As we walked back toward the house, he asked, "Are we okay, you and me?" "We are getting there," I answered honestly. Trust takes time to rebuild. Derek's transformation was perhaps the most profound. Without the safety net of my financial support, he had found resources within himself he never knew existed. He was taking evening classes in business management, building skills for long-term career growth. During a rare sibling lunch, just the two of us, he confessed, "I resented you for so long. Your perfect life, your freedom. I told myself you had it easy because you did not have a child, because you left home, because you were fortunate. And now," I asked, "now I see that you made choices and I made choices. Different choices led to different outcomes. That is not your fault." It was the closest we had ever come to a genuine connection as adults. My father took the longest to truly change, but small shifts were happening. He began treating Derek and me with more equality, acknowledging my accomplishments without immediately pivoting to Derek's struggles. During a private moment after dinner one night, he took my hand. "I failed you as a father," he said simply. "I favored your brother because he seemed to need me more. I took your strength for granted. I am sorry, Rachel. Truly sorry." Tears sprang to my eyes at the words I had needed to hear for decades. "Thank you, Dad." My own life flourished in unexpected ways. Without the constant drain of supporting my family, I had energy and resources for new pursuits. I took a photography class I had always been interested in. I dated more, no longer constantly available for family emergencies. I even took a 2-week vacation to Italy, something I had dreamed of for years. When my 37th birthday approached, I considered letting it pass quietly. The memory of the previous year's disaster was still fresh, but Lauren convinced me otherwise. "You cannot let one bad experience rob you of celebrations forever," she argued. "Just do it differently this time." So I planned a small gathering at my father's house. No expensive restaurant, no designer outfit, just family and close friends, a home-cooked meal, and genuine conversation. As we sat around the table, I looked at the faces of my family, still imperfect, still learning, but trying now in ways they never had before. Marcus had made me a handmade card that showed real effort and thought. Derek had bought me a simple but thoughtful gift within his actual budget. My father had prepared all my favorite foods from childhood. When it came time for toasts, my father stood first, surprising everyone. "To my daughter Rachel," he said, voice steady, "who had the courage to show us all a better way to be family, who cared for us enough to stop enabling our worst behaviors. I am proud of the woman you have become, and grateful for the chance to truly know you now." Glasses clinked as emotions ran high around the table. The journey had been painful, but the destination was worth it. We were building something new from the ashes of unhealthy patterns, something based on mutual respect rather than dependence and resentment. Later that evening, as guests began to leave, Marcus approached me with an envelope. "I saved from my job," he said, handing it to me. "It is not much, but I wanted to repay you at least symbolically for the vehicle and everything else." Inside was $250 in carefully counted bills. "Marcus, you do not need to do this," I began. "I want to," he insisted. "It is important to me to show you I understand now." I accepted the envelope with the gravity it deserved, recognizing it not for its monetary value, but for what it represented: accountability, growth, respect. As I drove home that night, I reflected on the lesson of the past year. Sometimes the greatest act of love is saying no. Sometimes the hardest boundaries are the ones most necessary for growth. And sometimes family has to break before it can be properly rebuilt. The relationship with my family was still healing, still evolving. There would be missteps and old patterns to overcome. But for the first time, I felt hopeful that we were moving towards something healthier. Something based on mutual respect, rather than obligation and resentment. The journey had been painful but necessary. By standing firm in my worth, I had given my family the opportunity to rise to their best selves, rather than continuing to sink into entitled dependence. And I had given myself permission to be valued, respected, and truly appreciated. If you have ever dealt with entitled family members or struggled to establish boundaries with loved ones, please share your experiences in the comments below. How did you handle it? What worked for you? And if you found this story of family transformation meaningful, please like, subscribe, and share with someone who might need to hear it. Remember, sometimes the hardest choices lead to the most necessary healing. Thank you for listening to my story, and may you find the strength to create healthy boundaries in your own relationships.